You know, when I walk through here, I think to myself, I like what I did. I like it a lot. I'm pretty good at what I do.
The work is like a diary. It's like walking into someone's diary. When you come into the site, it's like walking into Isaiah's brain. It can be really overwhelming, and it's filled with beauty and pain. It's a wonderful place. It's a complicated place, and that's kind of who Isaiah is.
Let's see, I was living on the Lower East Side. I got a call from this man, and he wanted to come over. He had just shaved his head and beard, and he looked like a pea head, and he was all orange and red and tall and gawky, and I thought, oh, God. But he was funny. He was very funny and always made me laugh, so we had fun. Then he started telling me how great he was and how he was going to make a fortune and how he was. I believed him completely. No.
Well, she's my stability and my flying instructor. She's the up and down of everything I am. I couldn't do it without her.
Kennedy, who was the president, said people who were married could go into the Peace Corps instead of a war corps.
Well, we happened to be going to Peru because that's where the project that they decided we should go, but it opened up a whole new world for us. It opened up the world of another culture.
I loved Latin America and I loved Latin cultures. And so Peru and being able to live there and seeing folk art, work with folk artists, 2 years, 3 years we were there, changed our lives. I think all artists should be dumped in other places so that their lives could be changed. I mean, they didn't know what we were going to do there or how we were going to function, but we did, and it was wonderful. It was really wonderful.
And they would say, look how young you are and you've accomplished so much. And then suddenly we were thrust into a world of nobody knowing who we were. And we moved to Germantown in Philadelphia because my sister was studying at Tyler School of Art. We were shunned because of the way we looked, the way we had transformed ourselves in those 3 years of being in another country. We really didn't realize how much we had changed. And the country had changed, and we had missed 3 years of being in the United States, so it was like we were outsiders.
But we wanted the throb of people. And so we walked down South Street. There were all kinds of people. You know, we knew we had to do something to earn a living. We had no way of earning a living. But we had 16 crates of folk art and merchandise from Peru, Bolivia, Mexico. So we got a building that he banged apart and then began fixing up. And that was the Ice Gallery, selling our crates of stuff.
South Street worked. South Street was a playground. South Street was a mad education, too.
Isaiah, from the time he was, young, was very nervous. ADHD, I guess they call it. He had a lot of energy. When he did find art, when he did find drawing, young, very young, he began to do that. I mean, really intensely. And that carried him through. I think it carried him through college. Then when we were in the Peace Corps, it also was a kind of free range for him, and it was good. He ran around, he used the energy, he was able to work. And Isaiah began to smoke, maybe a lot of pot, and we think some of it might have been laced with something that friends brought over to him, but who knows? Just might have been his nervousness that just exploded into a mental breakdown. And he was carted away in a straitjacket because he was going to jump off a third-story balcony.
The breakdown happened, and from then on, I was free. I was free. It knocked everything out from under me and gave me a basis for doing what I now do. It said to me, you are a man who needs to break tile. It said, you are a man who needs to reconstruct that tile not in the way it was constructed, because the way it was constructed was not the way you see it. You see it in a different way. You see it in your own way. You need to do tiling forever. You need to be a forever tiler.
He struggles sometimes with very, very high highs and then very low lows. Usually they can coincide with when he's working and when he's not able to work. What's been incredible for me to see is how Isaiah has used his artwork and his practice of making art through his struggle with all of his ups and downs in his world. It is the constant thing that pulls him through.
There are people all over the world, and I don't think anyone knows exactly why, who have this urge, energy, and ability to produce art, in one way or another. Isaiah is one of them. He never really had a plan, he was just doing, but he was doing with cement. Now, cement is there to stay.
Besides this site, there are over 220 other sites in Philadelphia that are all done by Isaiah, most of which are on public view.
South Philadelphia has allowed me to use walls, and its individuals have said, you can use my wall as your dream world, as your dream spot. You can take my wall and you can transform it. My momentary thoughts became eternity.
The Magic Gardens began in the late 80s, early 90s. Isaiah owned 2 properties here at 1020 South Street, and he was using them as his studio and was mosaicing the inside and the outside of the buildings. But the site that I'm sitting in right now was actually an abandoned property. And suddenly the fence got pushed down and Isaiah was now moving into this space, which he did not own. He was working for about 10 years, and that was when the property owner of these lots found out. He came to Isaiah and said, hey, you can't be doing this artwork here. You either have to buy the property or we're tearing it down. A lawyer offered to help, and that was when we formed as a nonprofit in 2004, just to save the space. And then Isaiah worked on the site for another 4 years. When he was finished or felt like it was good enough, we were open to the public in 2008. Isaiah's been inspired by so many other artists, particularly outsider artists or artists that make spaces similar to this. At the Magic Gardens, we consider this site an art environment. It's a genre of art that can be found all over the world. What they always have in common, of course, is massive scale, usually a really personal drive. So often there's mythology or a belief system or very personal storytelling that's happening within the site. It's very materialistic, like it's made with a very specific kind of material, often found objects or something that might be a little more thrifty to be working with. And it's often made in a way that is not meant for commodity, but really just sort of that, again, personal expression, almost an obsession to be telling that story.
I wanted to make something like Clarence Schmidt made. I wanted to make something like Simon Rodia made. There are so many other names of people who have made environments that are so different from each other and yet so much the same manifestation of somebody wanting to make a temple of spirituality that manifested the mystery of what they didn't understand that was in their mind.
Art environments like this one, they're usually in very rural areas. So to have this right in the middle of a city, a huge urban center, it's kind of unheard of. And then to have 220 other mosaics in the city, in the streets, one artist's almost entire body of work be public. I mean, what a gift to the city. Isaiah's work is so Philadelphia, and it was only able to live because of this city. And it has its own sort of pulse because of Philadelphia. It's so ours.
Simon Rodia said, I wanted to make something big and grand for this country that gifted me so much. I want to gift back. I wanted to gift it back. And this is what I made. Philadelphia Magic Gardens is the gift that I gave back. And what's being given back to me is so much more than what I've given.